Nellie Harris. I'm in my third term on the city council. Can you believe that, Mayor Draper? And I appreciate your coming. I was just telling a few people a few minutes ago, the last time I had a meeting here, very few people came, and we have a decent showing today. So I think a lot of people are probably very, very concerned about the flooding in Golden Springs, and rightfully so. If you watch the news in Kentucky and various places, it's happening in a lot of places, and we certainly don't want it to happen here. But as I've learned a few things from our Public Works Director, Dave Arnett. Dave, would you raise your hand so they'll know who you are? Whenever people call me, I'll say, I'll have to call Dave Arnett. He is our Public Works Director, and he has studied, he and our engineering firm, Gonzalez, have studied, raise your hand, Gonzalez, have studied the issue very extensively. They've been doing surveys. The city has allotted $1.2 million to address this issue, and I don't even know if that's going to be enough because it's very, very, very expensive. But we got to do what we have to do. I want you to meet our city manager, whom you may know or may not know, Mr. Stephen Folks, and I think he's honestly one of the best city managers I have ever met or known or worked with. And we've gone through quite a few in Anniston. But anyway, we're happy to have him, and we have Mayor Draper here, Jack Draper, and I consider Jack Draper a great friend. He's got a talent like none other as far as public speaking goes. And I wish he would continue in politics because he's so good at it. But, oh well, good things have to come to an end. And I know all of you probably know Jackson Hodges. Jackson is a public information officer, and I don't know if how many of you are on Nextdoor or Facebook, or if you watch the city meetings. I want to say, this young man, you are a very young man.
Feeling kind of old today, but
He just had a baby, in case you want to know about that, and he's sleep deprived, but look at him. He's doing great. And in the back here, we have Mr. Frazier Burroughs. Mr. Burroughs does an outstanding job as our Parks and Recreation director. And as I understand, I'll tell you the two things I know, because I'm not an engineer. These people are the experts. I do know that Golden Springs was developed back in the 1950s, starting in the 1950s. I checked that out with Chip Howell, actually a few days ago. And whenever they started developing Golden Springs, whomever the developers were, because I don't know who they were, they probably did not anticipate the kind of growth that we have. And the pipes, as I understand, correct me if I'm using the incorrect terminology, but the pipes are not large enough for the amount of water that's coming through this area. And they get stopped up, and that causes flooding. And I realize a lot of people have had some issues about our rubbish pickup. And the reason for that is because when these things get left out in the street and they wash down in the storm drains, that causes flooding as well. But I want to tell you one thing, and then I'm going to shut my mouth. That is, if you've got, rubbish or whatever, it doesn't need to go on the street, but as long as it's in a bag, it's okay, because then it's not going to wash down into the storm drain. But anyway, at the end, just feel free I'll put my mask on if you want to talk to me, or most of you have my card with my cell number on it, you can call me, and I'll return your call. I always return calls, but it will go through a screening. It's screened. All my calls are to avoid these scammers, and no one likes those calls. How many of you found out that you have a car warranty that you need to renew?
right?
Yeah. Oh, Medicare is, oh my goodness.
That's a good one.
Well, anyway, I do that. So if you call, you've got my cell number, just leave a message and I will return your call. Anyway, thank you for coming, and I am going to turn this over to our trustee, Dave Arnett, who is going to enlighten all of us. I know I'll learn something too.
I was just told I can handle it. That may be the worst word spoken ever. Everybody can hear me. I've been told I'm very loud, so I'll stay away from that. All right, we are here for the flooding. I know we've spoken to many of you. Miss Avanti has. I let her screen my calls. I don't let it go to voicemail. And she's been very good about sending our street department out, looking at the issues. As you know, flooding is something that we just can't help as an immediate thing. We have stopped up storm drains that we go out there, we service, we dig, we rod, we clean. And this is what she was getting to about putting stuff in the street. One addendum, not in a correction, an addendum. If you put it in a bag, please make sure it's as close to your property as possible in the gutter. Street bad, gutter less bad. In a bag, not loose, in a bag. That way your grass will not die up under it and all those other things we've talked about. So, Mr. Folks asked us to get with an engineering firm, send out an RFQ. Long story short, Gonzalez Strength is who we hired to evaluate the downstream portion of Golden Springs. And now we call it the downstream portion because of what's happening upstream. Anyone? The development. Anybody happy about the development?
No.
I didn't see any hands. Nobody's happy. I don't understand that at all. I have, as of today, I have spoken with the developers, spoken with Mr. Folks, the mayor, Ms. Harris. We all know what's going on up there. We have the approved engineered drawings. I again talked to the developer today. Everything is on schedule to meet this design. Gonzalez Strength has hired as a consultant the design engineer for our upstream development. So these two are working in concert to get all the water from the development through Golden Springs down to, I want to call it Greenbrier Deer, where it kind of picks up. But
What areas are you talking about?
we're going to let him go through that with the maps. That way y'all can come up, you can look.
No, stop, right there, because it's not all about the branches and that kind of thing. By the way, we have branches falling now from all the water and dust and dirt coming from that property. Now, if you go to where the little tarp thing that's like 6 inches tall that they have put there, it has dipped down. All of that is rushing down into the end of Conger, into our yard,
And we got several inches of mud like this in our yard now.
along with our neighbors. And that's not kosher. That's got to be fixed now. They put in some kind of little thing there but it is not connected
It's not even
to a
connected.
pipe.
It's just
a
block there next to
concrete
it.
thing there. We watched them build it.
Right.
Sorry.
And no ma'am, that's what we're here for. Please, interrupt. I'm used to it. I have a 24-year-old daughter that does not care about interrupting me at all, so I'm used to it. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Want to know if in talking about the flooding, we're also talking about the creek that's coming down
Exactly.
through the bypass, off the bypass. There's a creek. And that creek, you can see it out here, it flows down, it slips around, and it comes down here, and Spring Valley Road is flooded.
Yep.
Spring Valley Road is flooded when you get a lot of water and a lot of rain. The branches come, it clogs it up, some of the neighbors go out and clean it up. But the problem is that the bush that's behind there, and that's clogging somewhere 3 houses down from me, causes that, it blocks that creek, causes that water to flood 3 houses' yards, the yards in 3 consecutive houses. And then it flows, and it flows to this side of the creek. So are we talking about that as an issue too, in
Well-
talking about this?
And what I would like to do, before I say yes or no, is we do have our maps out here, and we have our engineer, and we are gonna want, that's what they're here for, is for you to come up, look at, and let him answer a couple of questions.
Let me do this, because I see where we going here. Let's let, Mr. Gonzalez go through it, because I hear what you're saying too, because here's what I don't want the misconception to be. This problem existed even before, just like here in Spring Valley, this existed before, that down there is what the construction started. You all know that. That's why we already had a plan to actually deal with it. Just like Councilmember Harris has said, the problem is we had this maybe built for a smaller group, the pipes were smaller, so we're trying to address all this at the same time. Now that other construction just started new, but this problem was already a problem that had to be, it was existing all the time. Some people, and I know stay over there where you stay a little further, because keep in mind, we got Dealmerville, we annexed Dealmerville in as well. So it's a lot that goes with this. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to look at this from a holistic approach. So we understand that it just didn't start that group is, I know with Spring, y'all been having this for a long time. That's what we're trying to fix now about the pipes. But let Mr. Gonzalez let the Gonzalez group go through what they have to go through, and then if we got any questions, let's have the questions then, so we can all collectively come together and find a way to fix it. It ain't going to happen right away, but again, because it didn't happen overnight, but we're doing everything we can now. We got the funding to actually to this, and we're going to try to do everything we can to fix that.
Something's gonna happen quick, because if that water gets underneath my house, you doggone straight, I'm gonna have something to say.
Understand, yes ma'am, understand.
My concern is the creek that's behind Sugar Bowl. I've been there 27 years, this man's been there longer than me. There's holes back there, it needs to be cleaned or something done. There are holes back there that's 6 to 8 foot deep, and then we
And that's
have
why,
mosquitoes.
that's why the maps are here.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna be able to draw on the map,
Yes, sir.
your concern, and I can take that back to the office. We're gonna talk about it. That's what these are here for. Let's mark our issues so we can look at them.
Yeah, that's all we
As we
have.
go
Let's
along.
go and do this, and then we can fix this. And this conversation doesn't stop here. This was a continuing conversation, because what he's trying to do, get to a start place, but we want to make sure everything's addressed as he gets to that start place, so we can actually start this process. So let me have him to just give a briefing, and then you all can maybe come around the table, take a look at what's going on, and maybe have those conversations so we can mark those things, annotate those things, so at least we can work on and continue this conversation. Yes.
All right, so I'm Kerry Daniel with Gonzalez Strickland Associates. We're working with Martin Engineering, which is the hydrologist. I'm the civil guy, so we draw the plans, we prepare the documents, we'll be doing inspections, we'll be seeing this project all the way through the end, from beginning to end. He is currently, what we have done, we've surveyed all the property, as you guys know, through the whole subdivision. There are 2 streams that come through, and we've got those labeled as the west ditch, east ditch. We have shown the alignment which we are proposing, and we're trying to follow generally where the streams are today, and also keep it close to the property lines. So it's centered, it's not all the way on somebody's property, but we're trying to chase property lines, so we don't take these.
There's eaves back there too.
There's what?
There's an eaves back there that the city owns.
An easement.
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
And I, just, let's get him finished real quick, and then we'll open it back up, okay?
Sure, we will work through all easements have to change, don't change. If there's an issue, if you say we'll work through all of that. We'll take any feedback. If we need to make an adjustment to alignment, we will. That's why we're here. We're in a design phase, but this is still, it's a little bit past preliminary, but we've still got a lot of work to finish up. What we're doing, where you guys see these pipe, maybe an 18-inch pipe coming under your street. We've gone back where those pipes are undersized. There will be no pipe. This would all be box culverts and concrete ditch. So where it goes under the street, instead of it constricting down to a pipe, it will now be a 3x5 or 4x6 opening under the road, so you will not get the buildup of debris as easily. It will flow much better. It'll be concrete, so the water will keep moving. So it will greatly make the water flow much more efficient through the subdivision. So based on that, the alignments are here. You can see your home. We can see your homes. You can show me any areas of concern. Any feedback, anything I need to find out for y'all. I mean, I can go back. We're looking for feedback today. So.
When you open up that bigger, on the road, you gotta open the ditch that goes from there to the creek or go to other areas, has to be open as well in order to carry that load of water.
Correct, that's why we've hired probably the best hydrologist in the state, if not the southeast, to go through this. We did not just hire the cheapest guy we could find. This is a complex project, and it required somebody with the knowledge to handle it. That's what we've done. Again, that's why we have these maps out for you, sir, that have concerns. You can come in, step on up right now, come on, and kind of point us out. Hey, we'll go ahead and get you out the way.
Don't we need to go through the whole thing first? I mean,
Well, generally, the project begins, so basically our project begins below the church, just below the church, and we go all the way to the top of the subdivision, to basically the new development. Now, the new development's a different story. The issues you guys are seeing are more erosion control. That's not really what we're...
That's us.
That's a different issue. So...
I'm further down from that.
If it helps out, why don't we do this? Why don't, if some of you just come around and then let's take a look at this map so we can have the conversation. I think this would be better if you can see it from a standpoint so you can talk about where your area is at. If you want to come in, because again, trying to have a conversation and not actually understanding it. So if you come around, if y'all could come around, you just could talk and have your questions then.
And what I think we can do, we have a west.
You want to take that?
That's right.
We're right there where the new subdivision just started.
We're not on Knoll. We're actually on Concord.
Yeah.
The subdivision is our main.
I can't say that I have
Project.
That's not even us. We're down here. Whenever you turn on Spring Valley, go straight on by.
You guys have flooding issues this morning?
You got some of the pictures?
Well, all of this project, just saying that it's straight here. That's going
You gotta make sure that you have certain.
Won't be the first time. Certain are not gonna win.
We enjoy your post. Thanks a lot.
Totally. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, hey, absolutely right. Oh, we're so thrilled. She's so great. Just once I figure out the sleep thing, we'll be good to go. It may take a minute, yeah.
And the lady at the end down there,
all the property flooded, and then that's when it's flooded. Then even then, our neighbors across the street.
She's right there, she's standing.
She's right there.
Hey, what's up? Thank you so much. I know, right? We so thrilled. Oh, she's great. I mean, charity's healing up and everything's going, you know. We were there for a minute. It was like a 3-day, like, oh yeah. So we've only really been at home a couple days, but she's doing good. We've done our first appointment in the kitchen and everything came back real good. So, yeah, she's beautiful. Love her to death. Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. I'll be back in the saddle next Monday, and we'll hit the ground running. Yeah. That's all I got. You gotta go what you got, you know. So you know. Oh, but my mom's great. She's like she's a pro mom. That's what she do. So she's already like come over the other night. She was there from like 3 in the morning to 6. You know, a real great help. So we're gonna make it together. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, they're looking at the maps to show people where they're having the issues. Is what I think everyone's doing.
This is all dealing with Spring Valley Road.
Probably, I mean, they're not gonna be able to make it out. I'm so used to it. It's like word of thumb would be if you see me, assume I'm out there recording.
I can tell my calendar for you, but it's, I'm pretty sure it was April 8th. Will it be your cookie? So that's on the same day, you'll make sure that
Everybody should.
they should have.
I don't know about Did you get a hang tag or one survey?
There may be some just sitting around.
When we get a survey, when we come out and survey.
Yeah.